Right now at noon, hundreds of students in California are quarantined because of the measles. What President Trump is saying about the vaccine. And the first round of the NFL draft happened last night in Nashville. We'll tell you about the new Packers players.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at noon.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mark Kane. Thanks for tuning in to News 3 Now on this Friday afternoon. We'll get to those stories in just a bit. But first, meteorologist Chris Freese has a look at your first alert forecast. Nice day out there.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful weather outside, Mark. Plenty of sunshine out as well today. We're going to continue to see more. Are doing pretty well also. 54 right now in town, 59 as you work your way over towards Janesville, Milwaukee at 58, and all of us will continue to see those temperatures warm a couple more degrees. We are talking perhaps 62 by the time we get you into the afternoon. Winds coming out of the north and west at 15 miles per hour, so it's not a terrible wind, but it's just enough to be noticeable and perhaps a little bit uncomfortable for some folks. But as you plan the day, keep that sunshine around. Temperatures topping out again around 62, but then the cloud cover begins to move in as we work our way into the overnight and evening hours. That is because a system that right now is in parts of Wyoming and Montana is getting ready to race across the high plains and then eventually towards us here in south central Wisconsin. There are winter storm watches in effect. Those go from 10 a.m. tomorrow to 10 o'clock tomorrow night as we watch a potential of heavy snow moving into the area. Mark, I'm going to be breaking down what you can expect coming up in just a few minutes.
A spring winter storm.
A sprinter storm. That's exactly what it is.
There you go. All right. We'll check back in a few minutes. Thanks,
Sounds
Chris.
good.
A woman is expected to be okay after being stabbed on Madison's west side last night. Police say it happened around 5:15 at Dana Lou's Laundromat in the Meadowood Shopping Center. That's along Raymond Road near the Whitney Way intersection. The 41-year-old victim was stabbed in the arm, but there's no information on a suspect this noon. Governor Tony Evers and Foxconn Technology Group officials are talking about making changes to the contract signed in 2017 that was based on constructing a large display screen manufacturing facility that's a larger one that's now proposed. That raises questions about how extensive any revisions may be and what each side would get out of it. Those who have examined the contract and are familiar with the company and similar agreements say the state may look to reduce the amount of credits and push for other new requirements. Foxconn may want to change the timeline and benchmarks for job creation so they can more easily qualify. Neither side has publicly said what changes they want. A Russian woman who pleaded guilty to trying to infiltrate conservative political circles and promote Russian interests before and after the 2016 presidential election has been sentenced. Maria Butina will spend 18 months in prison. Butina pleaded guilty in December to one count of conspiracy to act as an agent of a foreign official. She admitted to using her contacts in GOP political circles, in the National Rifle Association, and the National Prayer Breakfast to influence U.S. relations with Russia. In 2015, she was photographed with former Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker. Hundreds of students and staff at two Southern California universities are quarantined as health officials try to avoid a possible measles outbreak. Officials at UCLA say a student contagious with measles attended classes for 3 days earlier this month, potentially putting hundreds at risk. A similar scene is playing out on the campus of California State University in Los Angeles. The quarantines come as the number of measles cases nationwide has hit a 25-year high, 695 cases in 2019 so far. Today, President Trump, who has tweeted more than 30 times against vaccination, endorsed the MMR vaccine.
To get the shot, the vaccinations are so important. This is really going around now. They have to get their shot.
Both UCLA and Cal State LA say the buildings affected no longer pose a threat to students. CBS News confirms that North Korea gave the Trump administration a $2 million bill for the hospital care of American hostage Otto Warmbier, who later died in the U.S. The University of Virginia student was sentenced to 15 years of hard labor in prison, accused of taking a propaganda poster during a visit to North Korea. Warmbier was sent home in a coma in 2017. The former envoy to North Korea, Joseph Youn, signed the $2 million bill to cover Warmbier's hospital care. President Trump is denying that his administration paid any money to North Korea. The NFL draft continues later tonight after wrapping up the first round last night. The Packers continue to focus on rebuilding their defense with those 2 picks last night. They drafted Michigan defensive end Rashawn Gary. The Packers moved up in the draft to take Maryland safety Darnell Savage Jr., 21st overall. The green and gold will have 6 more picks. And starting tomorrow night, Madisonians will have a new team to root for, Forward Madison FC. The team's first home game of the regular season is tomorrow at 7 in the snow. It's your first chance to check out the fully renovated Breeze Stevens Field, complete with enclosed box seats and a standing room only section. The Flamingos are the city's first ever pro soccer team, and management has spent more than a year working to bring them to town. And don't forget, the Milwaukee Bucks will be playing in the Eastern Conference semifinals against the Boston Celtics. Game 1 of that series is Sunday at the Pfizer Forum starting at noon. And protect your identity and join News 3 Now this weekend for Shredfest. We're offering free document shredding in partnership with Pelletieri and the Better Business Bureau. We'll be at Warner Park this Saturday, April 27th from 8:30 to 11 a.m. Please limit what you bring to 3 bags or boxes per vehicle, and let News 3 Now, let our team help you keep your information safe. For more information, go to channel3000.com/shredfest or get a reminder by signing up for our event on Facebook. And there's more to come on News 3 Now at noon. Up next, we'll see what Howard's working on in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
It's National Pretzel Day. And to highlight these twisted favorites, we're whipping up a bite-sized dessert that's anytime special. Anytime. It's National Pretzel Day. Yup, an entire day devoted to the pretzel. Here in the Test Kitchen, we love all kinds of pretzels, from the soft ones we find on the streets of Philadelphia to the hard ones that deliver a whole lot of crunch. In fact, with all the shapes and sizes available, there's a pretzel for just about everyone. Over the years, our love for pretzels has grown, and today, It's a $500 million industry in the U.S. alone. So in recognition of this day, we're making pretzel-inspired s'more bites that highlight our twisted friends. The first thing we did was line the bottom of a baking dish with refrigerated cookie dough and baked it off. While it's still warm, we top it with mini marshmallows. Over that goes a layer of these tiny pretzels. Some chocolate chips goes over this, and back into the oven it goes, just long enough for the chips to melt. Once it cools, we'll cut it into small squares and it's ready to serve. The combo of the sweet and salty, plus the crunch from the pretzels, makes these practically irresistible. To get the recipe in time for National Pretzel Day, all you have to do is visit our website and type in Pretzel S'more Bites. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a yummy, twisted way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
Happy Pretzel Day, Howard. There's more to come on News 3 Now at noon. Up next, it's almost May, but we could be seeing some wintry weather tomorrow. Meteorologist Chris Reese is tracking some snow. That's next in our First Alert forecast. Our Call for Action phone bank is open right now, ready to take on your consumer issues. You can call our hotline. Volunteers will help you with any consumer complaints. The number is 608-270-2833. The service is open every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday between 11 and 1. Well, a boost for the American economy and a stress test for the U.S. Diane King Hall has more in today's Money Watch report.
The U.S. economy turns in its best performance in 6 years during the first quarter. According to the Commerce Department, GDP came in at 3.2%. The results snuff out fears that a recession is looming in the near term. Uber revs its engine for its public debut. The ride-sharing service says it plans to sell 180 million shares for between $44 and $50. That would raise up to $9 billion. The company is being valued at between $80.5 and $91.5 billion. Uber also revealed PayPal plans to buy $500 million in stock at the IPO price. Starbucks performance perks up. The Java Giant says profit rose to $663.2 million during its second quarter. That beat expectations. The company logged its best afternoon performance in 3 years as customers came in for its cold drinks. It also released one of its more expensive beverages last month, the Cloud Macchiato, with the help of Ariana Grande. And Americans are stressed out. According to Gallup's annual Stress, Worry, and Anger poll, the U.S. tied for 4th place out of more than 100 nations when it comes to stress. 55% of Americans said they experienced stress during a large part of their day. That's the highest level ever recorded by Gallup. Younger Americans were the most stressed. And that's your CBS Money Watch report. For more, head to cbsmoneywatch.com. At the New York Stock Exchange, I'm Diane King Hall.
All right, Diane, thank you. At the noon hour, the Dow Industrials up 23 points. The NASDAQ, however, is down 3. The S&P 500 is managing a 4-point gain at the noon hour. Let's check in now with Q106 Farm Director Pam Yankee, who is stress-free.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. We're number 4. Goodness gracious. Who's number 1, 2, and 3 then?
I don't know.
I would have figured that we would have been right on top of the heap there. And now you factor in Chris's forecast, and the stress is going back up. I don't know if I got to dig my shovel out again. But in the meantime, that will give Wisconsin farmers, if they did get any field work done this week, it looks like we're going to push pause over the weekend. The weather is still not a real major concern for those traders down in Chicago, though. You have to realize that farmers all across the United States can get an awful lot of work done in a very short window of time. They figure that we can plant more than 50% of all of our U.S. acres in less than 2 weeks' time if the weather cooperates. So really, any kind of little blip on the screen as far as this weather is concerned, not a concern in Chicago, probably a bigger concern for our Wisconsin farmers who have somewhat of a limited growing season window anyhow. Livestock's been holding pretty firm around the equity sales barn locations in Wisconsin. In fact, I was happy to see just a little bit of improvement on cull cow prices and our Holstein bull prices. But I always want to remind our farmers out there, you really do tend to see the better prices if you market your livestock early in the week. It just makes sense that those buyers are looking to fill their slips on Monday and Tuesday, not so much by Thursday or later in the week. Dairy today is also trying to regain some of the ground. Yesterday, I saw fluid milk contracts just before the close were up almost 40 cents a hundredweight in some categories. It didn't finish off necessarily that strong, but it looks like we're trying to rebuild again today. Barrel cheese on a Friday finishes at $1.63. 40-pound block cheese down a half today at $1.68.5, while double A butter gained a penny to finish the week at $2.27 a pound. So, yeah, I guess we'll just have to suck up whatever weather we can today, hang on to it mentally, if not something else. Because, like you said, I think Chris is going to, he's got to go where he's got to go. That's and right. It is April in Wisconsin. This is not something that should shock us.
And it's a Saturday, so no school or work affected. So
that's right.
That's a good thing.
There you go.
All right, have a good weekend.
See you later.
And here is Chris with the gory details.
That's right, Pam. I do. I've got to go where I've got to go and just hit you with the details of what to expect. We do have an alert day in the forecast for Saturday as the next winter storm moves in. Some of us could see upwards of half a foot of snow coming down out there. Brief mix early, so things will actually start out as rain or snow. But as the precipitation gets heavier, that's when things are going to go over to all snow. We do have winter storm watches for all of the counties, mainly across the southern tier of Wisconsin. That goes from Madison back towards Milwaukee. Then we go towards the west. It's going to go all the way towards the cross parts of Iowa and southeastern Minnesota. 10 a.m. tomorrow is the starting time of that, going through 10 p.m. So we're looking at a 12-hour window of some snow that'll come down. Right now, we're actually tracking the system that's very quick moving across parts of Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming. That's then going to work its way eventually towards us as we go into tomorrow morning with that region of low pressure moving towards the south. But in the meantime, high pressure is what is staying in control for us, keeping that sunshine around for your Saturday, but things eventually begin to shake up for us as this region of low pressure starts to work its way towards the east. We're going to see initially a round of rain to start things off, but that's going to evaporate before it hits the ground. We call this evaporative cooling. What happens is that evaporates before it reaches the ground. It cools off the atmosphere. So we're going to start things out in the 40s, but then watch how temperatures eventually begin to drop as we go into the afternoon. afternoon. That's what transitions things over to snow for southern Wisconsin, especially on the northern half of that storm system. Eventually that moves on out of here. High pressure takes over again as we move towards your Sunday and Monday. And then the next system's going to start to gather some steam there, and then eventually stream in some of those warmer temperatures as we move into early next week. In the meantime, enjoy the weather that is out there right now. Again, plenty of sunshine, 54 degrees right now. Winds out of the northwest at 15 miles per hour. Janesville 1 degree away from 60. Viroqua at 53 right now. Boscobel and Prairie du Chien both at 56. As we go to the afternoon, we'll see those temperatures topping out around 62. Clouds begin to move in tonight. Here we are. Remember I said we're going to start things out near 40. A mix of rain and snow initially, and a lot of this probably won't actually reach the ground. This is 9 o'clock tomorrow. Then we move towards the afternoon and things transition over to a period of snow that will eventually move out of here once we get past dinner time for your Saturday. So it's not going to be a long duration snow event. It's going to be more so quick hitting and then it gets on out of here. But as it does so, it can drop some snow. And the model's actually disagreeing somewhat on the placement. So this is the RPM, and I do think the RPM is struggling the most handling the system. It actually doesn't bring any snow at all. It keeps most of that south of the border. The NAM, I think, is struggling a little bit as well. It's farthest towards the north and says, oh, hello, 10 inches of snow. I think that's a bit aggressive. But the truth is likely somewhere in between. So here's the European, and then the GFS honestly lines up with this pretty well also. I do think the heaviest snow is going to be from Madison and then down towards the Illinois border. So right in those two counties is probably where we're going to see the heaviest snow set up. Anywhere from 3 to 6 inches within that line as well. Most of that going to be on grassy surfaces, but if it comes down hard enough, you might be able to overcome some warm pavement and create some issues on the roadways. That'll make travel difficult, and we might even see some lightning and thunder with the snow tomorrow. This is going to be a very dynamic system that will quickly become a memory as temperatures warm right on up as we move into Sunday. Temperatures near 50, reaching the 50s on Monday. By the middle of next week, we're going to be talking severe storms, well, maybe severe storms, but just chances of rain and thunder and temperatures in the 60s. And by next Saturday, complete change with temperatures near 70.
It was 80 on Sunday.
It was 80 on Sunday.
Keep that in mind.
We had severe storms on Monday and then snow this weekend. So it is a meteorologist's dream.
Or nightmare.
A nightmare for others.
Thank you, Chris.
My pleasure.
Dream on. Ahead on News 3 at noon, Nashville is a popular destination for bachelorette parties. Who knew? Why one special event is putting a damper on their partying plans. Well, the NFL draft kicked off last night in Nashville. The country music city is also apparently the bachelorette party capital of the country. But all that focus on football is putting a damper on some of the pre-wedding festivities. Kathleen Jacob reports.
Ah, the sound of bachelorettes in Nashville. It's a sound we all know well, but this weekend, this is turning to this. As the NFL closes streets, pushes pedal taverns off Broadway, and brings in hundreds of thousands of football fans infiltrating bachelorette party headquarters.
And it just changes, like, the crowd, like, what you're here for. Like, I don't want to hang out with a bunch of football guys.
No.
Like, I'm good. I already have to watch football on Sundays. I don't need to see any more of that.
For the parties we talked to, the NFL draft came as a shock.
And did you realize that the NFL draft was going to be here?
No. No idea, like mind blown when we landed.
We had no idea.
No idea.
No idea.
And I think my dad's very disappointed in me that I didn't know.
When did they start planning the draft? Because I feel like I just found out about this.
I found out 3 days ago, and it made me want to cry.
Yeah, she found out and told me a few months ago, and I said, well, we already booked it. We're not changing it.
So instead, they're coming up with plans.
We had to fight people off, so we'll do it again. Navigating to Broadway, was it? Yeah. We had to get dropped off early and walk the rest of the way. We're still planning on using Uber, and if it takes 2 hours, it takes 2 hours. It is what it is.
But in the end,
The person that's going to pay for this is my husband when I refuse to watch football the entire season. Like, I'm talking no Super Bowl.
No.
Because you get married once.
Yep.
How often does the draft happen?
Every freaking year.
Every year.
putting a little damper on these ladies' one last fling before the ring.
Like the worst.
Yeah.
Oh, that's your biggest problem. Chris, let's solve these issues.
Well, we do have a winter storm watch, Mark. That winter storm watch is from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. tomorrow. We'll keep you guys up to date on the latest incoming snow.
All right, we'll see you back here at 4. Have a great afternoon.